is brought to you in part by a grant from the Happy Company, makers of the Cozy Collection of heat therapy products. The Cozy Collection is designed to utilize heat in the release of tension in sore, tired muscles and help soothe cramping and achy bodies. The Happy Company product line can be found at thehappycompany.com. And by Hokema Sewing Center, proud supporter of the quilting arts. Hokema Sewing Center carries a full line of sewing machines and sergers.
Christopher Abel, William F. Abramson, Heinrich B. Ackerman, Donald Adams, Patrick Adams, Shannon Lewis Adams, Stephen Adams, Christy A. Adamo.
In the beginning, our Creator breathes life into each soul. Each soul born will live, love, learn, and teach. In the end, each soul shall journey back home to the Creator to live in the light and warmth of all that is good. All Souls Day by Linda M. Poole of Milford, Pennsylvania.
Allen, Richard Dennis, Richard Leonard Allen, Anthony Alvarado, Kermit Charles Anderson, Yvette Anderson, Michael Rourke Andrews, Joseph Angelini Sr., Lorraine D. Antigua, Peter Paul Apollo, Louis Arena, Michael J. Armstrong, Joshua Aaron, Michael Edward Asher, Janice Ashley, Thomas J. Ashton, Lieutenant
God Bless America by Anita Shackelford of Ohio. Out of chaos came rediscovery of human kindness. strength of spirit, love of country, and heroes who were always there. Let us be grateful to live in a country where we can pray, sing, say, and shout, "God bless America."
Atwood. James Otterford. Louis Frank Aversano. Samuel Ayala. Andrew J. Bailey. Bert T. Bailey. Sharon Balcom. Michael Andrew Bain. Gerard Jean Baptiste.
I originally created this design to commemorate
Jared
peace
A.
following the 1991 Gulf War. After September 11, however, the design was restitched to memorialize the precious lives lost. A memorial tribute, September 11, 2001, by Faye Labanaris of Dover, New Hampshire. Our Light Shines On by Sharon Stroud of New York. Hope for the future, illuminating our path. Her light shines brightly.
Lieutenant Stephen J. Bates. W. David Bauer. Jasper Baxter. Jane S. Beatty. Larry I. Beck. Michael Beekman. Nina Patrice Bell.
The woman featured in this quilt is tearful,
Debbie
yet
S.
defiant.
Bellows.
She represents my feeling. With the tears lessened, I am still sad, but defiant as ever that we stand strong as a nation. United We Stand by Rita Denenberg of Wellington, Florida.
Brian Craig Bennett. Oliver Duncan Bennett. James Patrick Berger. Daniel D. Bergstein. David W. Bernard. William Bernstein. David S. Berry.
Memorial Grove by Lois T. Smith of Rockville, Maryland. Roughly 6,000 trees will be planted in the nation's capital, New York and Pennsylvania, in memorial groves to honor the lives lost and the heroes found on September 11. The new growth is a symbol of hope and of promise.
George Bishop. Christopher Joseph Blackwell. Susan L. Blair. Harry Blanding. Richard M. Blood, Jr.
To
Darren
trust in
C.
God gives confidence in an all-loving and caring power
Vincent
that sustains man in every adverse situation. Francis Scott Key wrote of this in the Star-Spangled Banner. This trust was expressed once again in 1864 when the words, "In God We Trust," appeared on U.S. coins. In God We Trust by Marie Sturmer
Greg
of Traverse City,
Joseph
Michigan.
Buck. Matthew J. Burke. Thomas Daniel Burke. Donald James Burns. Keith James Burns. Thomas M. Butler. Timothy G. Byrne, Michael John Cahill, Thomas J. Cahill.
USA Forever by Marianne Fawns and Liz Porter of Winterset, Iowa. Quilters find comfort through the act of quilting. As Americans, we are free to express our thoughts by speaking, writing, voting, and the images we portray in our quilts.
Liam Callahan, Jeffrey Thomas Campbell, Jill Marie Campbell, Sandra Patricia Campbell, John A. Candela, Brian Canizaro, James Christopher Capers, Dennis M. Carey, Michael Scott Carlo, Mark Stephen Carney, Michael T. Carroll, James J. Carson, William Otto Casper, Jose Ramon Castro, Christopher Sean Caton.
Through making this quilt, I wish the world the peace of spirit that I and so many others find in the natural beauty of diversity in our country. American by Eileen Janke Trestane
Joseph
of Vancouver,
Albert
Washington.
Corbin, James Corrigan, Dolores Marie Costa, Charles Gregory Costello, Jr., Sergeant John Gerard Coughlin, James E. Cove, Andre Cox, Frederick John Cox, Jr., Ann M. Kramer, James L. Crawford, Jr., Dennis A. Cross, John Crow, Wellis.
Let's Roll by Lois Embry Arnold of Chandler, Arizona. On September 11, lives were lost, heroes were born, faith was re-examined, and patriotism was renewed. No American was unaffected, and one American, Todd Beamer, immortalized the words, "Let's roll."
Dwight Donald Darcy, Elizabeth Ann Darling, Lieutenant Edward Alexander Diatri, Michael Allen Davidson, Clinton Davis Sr., Wayne Terrell Davis,
God Bless America by Susan Stein of White Bear Township, Minnesota. I wanted to make a quilt that represented the American flag, but incorporated my style of traditional designs on hand-dyed and contemporary fabrics. This quilt represents patriotism, freedom, and hope.
Richard Dawson, Edward James Day, William T. Dean, James V. DeBlas, Paul DeCola, Jason Christopher DeFazio, Monique E. DeJesus.
The wool felt provided the perfect medium for the spontaneous eruption of spirit. It communicates the boldness of change and the softness of heart. This quilt was made to remind us that we always have a new dawn coming. Dawn's a New Day by Laura Lee Fritz of Middletown, California.
Del Valle Jr., Anthony Demas, Kevin Dennis, Thomas F. Dennis, Jean C. DePalma, Jerry DeVito, Jose Nicholas De Pena, Edward D. Simone III, Jerry DeVito, Dennis Lawrence Devlin, Lourdes Galetti Diaz, Matthew Diaz, Nancy Diaz.
Oh Say Can You See by Helen Squire of Paducah, Kentucky. I saw a photograph once of a quilt on which the words of the Star-Spangled Banner were quilted. The memory of that simple, eloquent quilt became my inspiration to take Francis Scott Key's words and quilt them into cloth for all to see and remember.
Joseph Dermot Dickey, Jr., Lawrence Patrick Dickinson, Michael David Deal, Carl DeFranco, Jeffrey M. Dingle,
Nonetheless, We Shall Prevail by Betty Alderman of New York. Designed 2 months before September 11, my quilt seemed eerily prophetic in the aftermath of that day. I selected the title when I heard my pastor speak of the faithfulness of God, nonetheless. Together by Joan Waldman of Platt Center, New England. Together represents all who band together to quilt in times of stress. The red, white, and blue broken circles represent the fracturing of our peace on September 11th.
Douglas Frank DiStefano, John J. Doherty, Neil Dollard, Charles Carlos Dominguez, Lieutenant Kevin W. Donnelly, Raymond M. Downey, Frank Joseph Doyle, Joseph M. Doyle, Stephen Patrick Driscoll, Thomas W. Duffy, Christopher Joseph Doon, Robert D. Eaton, Dean P. Eberling, Dennis Michael Edwards, Christine Egan, Lisa Egan,
United We Stand by Sue Nichols of
Captain
Ann Arbor,
Martin
Michigan.
Egan Jr.
There was an immediate patriotic response to the attacks against our country. Flags could be seen on houses, businesses, and cars. Even road signs had our flag displayed with the simple statement, "United we stand."
Michael Egan, Carol Eggert, Eric Adam Eisenberg, Michael J. Elforus, Mark J. Ellis, Valerie Silver Ellis, William J. Irwin.
On Eagle's Wings by Barbara W. Barber. Our homeland, which is symbolized in this quilt by log cabin blocks, was attacked. Out of the flames and ashes, we rise, united and strengthened. He renews our strength like the eagles. Psalms 103:5.
Fanny M. Espinoza, Francis Esposito, William Esposito, Eric Brian Evans, Robert Edward Evans, Patricia M. Fagan, William Fallon, Captain Thomas Farino, John G. Farrell.
Let Freedom Ring by B. Oglesby of Overland Park, Kansas. The preamble to the Constitution begins with the words, "We, the people." With the First Amendment, our freedoms of religion, speech, press, and assembly are guaranteed. Let freedom ring.
Terrence Patrick Farrell, Wendy R. Faulkner, Robert Fazio Jr., Sean B. Fagan, Alan D. Feinberg, Henry Fernandez, Judy H. Fernandez, Anne Marie Salorin Ferreira, Robert John Ferris, Samuel Fields, Lieutenant John R. Fisher, Andrew Fisher, Bennett Lawson Fisher, Ryan D. Fitzgerald, Richard P. Fitzsimmons, Christina Donovan.
Since its unveiling in 1886, Lady Liberty has announced to millions that their journey to the land of the free has finally come to an end. Her flaming torch, flowing robes, and spiked crown continue to be symbols for freedom in America. Freedom in America by Bonnie Browning of Paducah, Kentucky.
Andre G. Fletcher, Joseph W. Flounders, Stephen Mark Fogel, David Fontana, Goodwin Ford, Donald A. Foreman, Claudia Alicia Martinez Foster.
This quilt consists of traditional blocks composed of worldwide symbols of liberty and creativity, including the crown and cross, skyrocket, wheat, honeybee, anvil, LaSalle coat of arms, and stars. Liberty Enlightens by Joyce B. Peden of Prosser, Washington.
Juan Garcia, Christopher Gardner, Harvey J. Gardner III, Thomas A. Gardner, Francesco Garfi, Matthew David Garvey, Julie M. Geese, Stephen Paul Geller, Ralph Gerhardt, James Gerard Geyer, Deborah L. Gibbon,
Stars and stripes have become a part of the greatest symbols of freedom around the world. As hearts were breaking on September 11 and we prayed for hope and healing, our flag was there, symbolizing the unity and strength of our nation. Betsy's Flag by Penny Horace of Fairfield, Iowa.
Neil Gibson, Andrew Clive Gilbert, Timothy Paul Gilbert, Paul John Gill, Ronald Gilligan, Donna Marie Giordano, John Giordano, Salvatore Ghetto, Diane Gladstone,
Day of Infamy by Susan McKelvey
Thomas
of Royal
I.
Oak, Maryland.
Glazer,
September 11 was a nation-shaping event that will not be forgotten. I designed my tribute to be uplifting, encompassing significant images from both our national heritage and quilt heritage.
Brian Frederick Goldberg, Monica Goldstein, John Giordano, Salvatore Ghetto, Diane Gladstone, Thomas I. Glasser, Barry H. Glick, Brian Frederick Goldberg, Monica Goldstein.
Whether represented by the torch of the Statue of Liberty or the candlelight vigils after September 11, the symbols of the flame and the shield remind all that we must never waver in our dedication to the cause of freedom. To defend forever the flames of freedom by Scarlett Rose of Anderson, California.
Wilder Gomez, Rosa J. Gonzalez, Calvin J. Gooding, Kareen Gordon, Thomas E. Gorman, Christopher Michael Grady, Gilbert Granados, Winston Arthur Grant, James Michael Gray, Derek Arthur Green, James Arthur Greenleaf Jr., Denise Gregory, Pedro David Grehan, Joan D. Griffith, Joseph F. Grillo.
Stan Lee said September 11 was a day liberty lost her heart and found the strength within her soul. In this quilt, the American spirit surrounds the victims with the best of our American ideals. The American Spirit Lives On by Carol Schoaf of Richland, Washington.
Leonard William Hatton, Jr., Timothy Aaron Haviland, Philip Hayes, Scott Hazelcorn, Roberta Bernstein Heber, Mark F. Himshoot, Brian Hennessy, William Henry, Harvey Robert Hermer, Norberto Hernandez, Jeffrey A. Hirsch, Captain Brian Hickey, Lieutenant Timothy Higgins, Todd Russell Hill, Neil.
Recycled Hearts by Faye Anderson of Boulder, Colorado. Our hearts and lives have been broken, but they are being mended in ways we could not have foreseen. Perhaps tolerance and appreciation of diversity are the greatest lessons we could ever learn.
Marcia Hoffman, Stephen J. Hoffman, Michelle L. Hoffman, Joseph Francis Holland III, James P. Hopper, Michael Horn, Aaron Harowitz, George Howard.
Throughout history, there have been expressions of patriotism in quilt making prompted by pride or tragedy. When making Liberty, I was especially inspired by an eagle on an applique quilt made in 1807. Liberty by Suzanne Marshall of Clayton, Missouri.
Stephen L. Howell. Chris R. Hughes. Paul R. Hughes. Timothy Robert Hughes. Kathleen Casey Hunt. Robert Husa. Captain Walter Hines. Zutu Ibis. Captain Frederick Ill Jr. Anthony P.
Phoenix
Infante.
Rose by Letty Martin of Lake Orion, Michigan. As the phoenix rose to life from the ashes, so will America rebuild. The rose, our national flower, symbolizes the hope and determination of the people.
A. Irvin Ryan. Todd A. Isaac. Brooke Alexandra Jackman. Aaron Jacobs. Jason Kyle Jacobs. Stephen A. Jacobson. Jake Dennis Pagoda. Ernest James. Griselda E. James. Paul E. Jeffers. Alan K. Jensen. Charles Gregory John.
The patriot dream stirs within our hearts. The teardrop quilting, combined with a smoky backing, symbolizes our mourning of the attack. But the Twin Towers will remain in our memories. The Patriot Dream by Deloa Jones
Philip
of South Haven,
E.
Michigan.
Miller. Robert C. Miller, Jr. Charles M. Mills, Jr. Louis Joseph Minervino. Lieutenant Paul Thomas Mitchell. Kleber Rolando Molina. Franklin Monahan. John Gerard Monahan. Captain Thomas Moody. Sharon Moore. Abner Morales. Carlos Morales. Paula Morales. John Moran. Lindsay S. Morehouse. Yvette Nicole Marino. Richard Morgan. Seth A. Morris. Christopher M. Morrison.
Triumph by Gail Searle of Montana. Ground level discloses death and destruction, a landscape of ashes and flame, until one twisted girder emerges, revealed as a cross of Christ. Now, united we stand, safe in the shelter of our Lord, embraced by freedom, triumphant.
Randolph Michael Seaman, Margaret Seeliger, Larry John Cinco, Frankie Serrano, J.S. Sean.
This quilt represents the dawn
Earl
of the day
Richard
after
Shannon.
September 11, as well as the subsequent surge of patriotism. This terrible event revealed the consummate good in the American people.
Shay,
Dawn of the New Day by Gail Garber of
Linda
Albuquerque,
Sheehan.
New Mexico.
John Anthony Sherry, C. Wong Shum, Gregory Sikorsky, David Silver, Arthur Simon, Marianne Simone, Jeff Simpson, Peter A. Syracuse, John P. Scala.
When the words patriotic and quilts appear in the same sentence, my mind turns immediately to the Pennsylvania German Eagle quilts from the mid-1880s. This quilt is a reminder of the traumatic events of September 11.
Paul K.
Patriotic
Sloan,
Quilt by Gwen Marston of
Wendy
Beaver Island,
L.
Michigan.
Small, George Eric Smith, Kevin Smith, Bonnie S. Smithwick, Rochelle Monique Snell, Leonard J. Snyder, Jr., Naomi Lee Solomon, Timothy P. Solis, Robert W. Spear, Jr.
Love Conquers All by Jeannie Sexton of Kentucky. A flag is outline quilted with jagged lines, then softly stipple quilted to the edge, symbolizing tattered lines that are softened with love.
Lawrence T.
Faith in God's
Stack,
love gave me the strength to hope as my son
Marina
flew south from
Stain,
Chicago. I'm safe in Atlanta, Mom,
Patricia
and I love you.
Stanton,
Love conquers all.
Jeffrey Stark, William V. Steckman, Eric Thomas Steen, Michael James Stewart, Lonnie J. Stone, Timothy Stout, James J. Strain, Jr., Edward T. Strauss, Stephen F. Strobert, Patrick Sullivan, Thomas Sullivan, Selena Sutter, John F. Swain, Ryan Edward Sweeney, Thomas F. Swift, Harry Tabak, Phyllis Gale Talbot.
The diverse colors, which were chosen to represent the uniqueness of humanity, brought to mind the words of a simple children's song. Red and yellow, black and white, we are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Bethlehem Silks by Diane S. Heyer of Belfast,
Michael
Maine.
Anthony Tanner, Kenneth Joseph Tarantino, Donnie Brooks Taylor, Anthony Tempesta, Stanley L. Temple, Lisa Marie Terry, Brian T. Thompson. Nigel Bruce Thompson.
9/11 by Bobby A. Ogg of Colorado Springs, Colorado. As a right-handed person, I found it difficult to make this quilt entirely with my left hand. A slow recovery from surgery on my right hand was the reason for my struggle. I was proud to make this humble quilt in memory of the thousands of people who
Jennifer
needlessly
M.
perished.
Tino. Hector Luis Tirado, Jr. Stephen K. Tomset. Doris Torres. Luis Eduardo Torres. Daniel Patrick Trant. Glenn J. Travers. Michael Trinidad.
The images in this quilt cause a smile. Humor and friendship encourage us, just as the star-spangled banner yet waves. My deep hope is expressed in Isaiah 2, for a peace that fills the earth when the lion and the lamb lie down together. Friendship Star by B.J. Elfgren of Chesapeake, Virginia.
T. Toomey. Jennifer Zemus. Jonathan J. Uman. Alan V. Upton.
The losses of this tragedy were felt in Canada as we grieved with our friends to the south. Our world is too small to exist harmoniously without sharing our love, compassion, and the knowledge that goodness will prevail.
Richard.
Two Countries, One Heart by Susan Perney Mark and Daphne
Daniel
Gregg.
M. Van Laer. David Vargas. Santos Vasquez. Jorge Velasquez. David Vieira. Celeste Torres Victoria. Joanna Vidal. Frank J. Vignola, Jr. Melissa Vincent. Joshua S. Vitale. Alfred Vicosa. Gabriella Weisman. Benjamin Walker.
The Age of Liberty by Judy Mercer Tesher of Pendleton, Indiana. How can humans harbor hate so great that it demands killing thousands of people? That kind of hate is not in me, nor is it in my friends and family. Perhaps because we live in a land of liberty.
Walsh. Jeffrey Patrick Walls. Wyben Wang. Derek Washington. Captain Patrick J. Waters. Walter E. Weaver. Stephen Weinberg. Stephen Weinstein. Simon Weiser. David M. Weiss. Vincent Michael Wells. Eugene Whelan. James Patrick White. Kenneth W. White. Wayne White. Leanne Marie Whiteside. Mary Linz Wyman.
Our
Lieutenant
Heroes
Glenn
of 9/11
Wilkinson.
and Beyond by Donna French Collins
David
of Central
Williams.
Square, Wyoming.
Lieutenant
The
John
police and firefighters risk their lives every day. They stand as tall as the Twin Towers stood. We will never forget the many people who perished on September 11.
H. Winton. Thomas Francis Wise. David Westwall. Jennifer Y. Wong. Yin Ping Stephen Wong. James J. Woods. Patrick Woods. John Bentley Works. William Wren. Sandra Wright. Shakila Yasmin. Edward P. York. Raymond York. Suzanne Yeomans. Barrington L. Young. Elkin Ewan. Ira Zaslow. Mark Scott Zeppelin. Evelyn Zeminski. Charles A. Zion. Julie Lynn Zipper. Salvatore J. Ziza. Andrew Stephen Zucker. Igor Zuckelman.
She listens to the click of the needle and thimble, watching the winter snow. She sits and sews so neat and nimble, just lets her fingers go. With pieces and scraps of bright colored cotton and patterns of long ago, she captures a scene she'd almost forgotten forever in calico. The unbroken thread runs through the towns and villages of these hills. Blue Mountain made in the heart of the Catskills by wives and grandmothers and sisters and brothers. Their hands sew the years and our dreams back together again. Rising star trio of life, wild goose chase, broken dishes, blazing sun, autumn leaf, tree of paradise. Crisscross diamonds, catch me if you can. Farmer boy, honeycomb birds in the air. Minute by minute and hour by hour, each day the pattern grows. Will it be stars, log cabins, or flowers? Only the maker knows.
United We Quilt is brought to you in part by a grant from the Happy Company, makers of the Cozy Collection of heat therapy products. The Cozy Collection is designed to utilize heat in the release of tension in sore, tired muscles and help soothe cramping in achy bodies. The Happy Company product line can be found at thehappycompany.com. And by Hokoma's Sewing Center, proud supporter of the quilting arts. Hokoma's Sewing Center carries a full line of sewing machines and sergers.